Hello automators, thanks for tuning in again. Stringify is going away. They've made it official that they're going to basically delete the application here at the end of June, and the services will no longer work, and they're going to focus on Comcast's connected home division. So that's that. I mean, it's over. Stringify is done. And so what we have to do now is talk about how we're going to move on and get you back to saving the time that you created with your Stringify flows. Now, what I'll say very quickly is this is the concern with these relatively small companies, and so this is affecting my recommendations for you going forward. We will see this pattern again and again in the automation industry as we see great services like Stringify pop up and then over time be acquired. They were acquired in 2017 by Comcast, and then have them disappear in the next couple of years. I think this is a pattern we're going to see, and so this is affecting my recommendations going forward for you. We have to quickly talk about what we have to replace here actually. Now, Stringify had a great list of connected services that included a ton of things. Now, they included a lot of the big makers. So we had Amazon, we had Google, we had SmartThings, we had Philips Hue, we had Nest, we had NetAtmo, we had a lot of those big quality makers of smart home products. But what they also had were things like connected services to news sites. They had a connection to Steam. They also had a couple of specialized functions like timers and some math functions and variables that you could actually utilize within their pro features. Now, those pro features, if you're someone who was utilizing those, you probably already have your own solution in mind. So I'm not really going to talk about lots of that, although I think the timers function is important enough to talk about as we go through these services that I'm able to recommend. Now, all of these services are free. I'm not going to have you spending a bunch of money, but in the first case, or the first couple of cases, you would need a device. Now, the first device is right here. This is an Amazon Echo Show. You could have an Amazon Echo of any sort, but having an Echo Show second generation or an Echo Plus first or second generation device adds a Zigbee hub where you can connect sensors directly, and that's a nice extra to have, but not a requirement. And the reason I tell you this one first off is they have the best routines functionality. They also have the ability to wait, which is just the same as a timer. Now, that timer is in minutes, so keep that in mind. But in general, the wait function works very well. You can trigger multiple routines off of one either command or a sensor. And remember, you can trigger sensors that are directly connected to these devices. So that's very powerful, again, with that Zigbee hub. But you can also trigger off of a lot of different things like your voice. Now, those routines can go forward, and you have access to more services with Amazon Echo. You won't replace everything exactly to the T, but almost everything that everyone has, you will be able to replace with Amazon Echo, their voice assistant, and their routines. Now, second is Google Home here, and they're a little bit more of an interesting situation. I'm going to tell you two things. Pre-May 7th and post-May 7th of this year, what I believe will happen. But right now, to utilize Google Home routines, all you can trigger on is your voice or time. And so that's a bit of a problem for a lot of people. They don't have a way to trigger a routine into Google Home or into the Google Assistant ecosystem other than that. That's a big problem. And that's where the differentiator here with the hub is. You can trigger off of sensors and you can trigger off of lots of different things with that. So the pre-May 7th, I don't believe that you will have that capability, or actually I know you don't have that capability right now, but post-May 7th, when Google is going to unveil what's called the Nest Hub Max, and I have a video down below in the description, they have to couple some ability with that device at the very least. And I've heard rumors that this device is getting a rebranding. that their routines function has to be improved with that. And so worst case in 2019, I believe their routines function will be caught up and maybe even surpass these guys. They've been very quiet about this, but that's my belief. So post May 9th, and hopefully with all of the things that I've kind of alluded to here, you should be able to utilize Google Home Routine. So it might be worth waiting until May 7th to 9th when Google I/O happens and they release that product, that you could just wait for that and wait and see what happens there and if there's a big change. Now, if there's not, there's a couple of connected services that I will tell you about now that I can recommend. The first one is If This Then That. Now, If This Then That, if you don't know what it is, you can get an app on iOS or Android. You can use it on the internet simply. You can just go to IFTTT.com, sign up for an account, and you can start utilizing that service. And it's basically, if one thing happens, you can trigger an action. Now, with the voice assistants, if you were to trigger an If This Then That applet, you can only cause one thing to happen. But with lots of devices and connected services that you have in your home, so say a motion sensor in your home connected to SmartThings, you can trigger multiple applets that you've created with that same trigger and have multiple actions occur. So you can still create a lot of what you did with Stringify. The difference is, again, you won't have access to that timer. Some of the connected services won't be there. There's a few things, but If This Then That actually has a much larger connected service capability. The other service I want to tell you about is called Yonomi, and I used Yonomi a long time ago on the channel, and really I did that because it connected Google Home to Sonos, and those guys are still not there. We're waiting, guys. Anyways. So Yonomi is very good with their routines capability. They don't have all of the connected services. You will find a lot of the big makers that you found in Stringify to be there. They also have that Sonos capability that I talked about, and that's a differentiator over and above what Stringify had. Now, the big issue right now with Yonomi is that it really can only trigger based on your location, a date and time, and or through one of the voice assistants. So you don't really have the ability to connect to things like Samsung SmartThings or other hubs that allow you to trigger based off of devices. Now, the one caution I have with Yonomi myself is that they seem to be following a very, very similar path to Stringify. They've created a great service, and I would be surprised if one of the big makers wasn't looking at them right now. Now, guys, in a lot of cases, I think this is going to help the general public. Obviously, for some of those very, very specific things, you might need some additional help. You're welcome to leave those down in the comments below with your specific Stringify situation. But where I can really take time and focus on people is on our Patreon page. So make sure you check that out. It's down in the description below, and it will allow you to get direct access to me and my team for some help with those specific situations. Very low monthly cost to jump on board, and you get additional content that we are developing here on the channel. So I hope this has helped everyone. This will get you started and moved on from Stringify. We're of course always going to have those few specific situations that you need help with, so I've given you those other options out there. So hopefully this helps you guys. Thanks for watching. Go get back that time in your life, and we'll see you next time.